Hello everybody, welcome back to 40 Days with Dietrich, our journey through the season of Lent. Today's passage is taken from Bonhoeffer's book, Discipleship, and the title given to this small excerpt is The Call of Grace. Dietrich writes, "When Faust says at the end of his life of seeking knowledge, 'I see that we can know nothing,' then that is a conclusion, a result. It is something entirely different than when a student repeats this statement in the first semester to justify his laziness. Used as a conclusion, the sentence is true. As a presupposition, it is self-deception. That means that knowledge cannot be separated from the existence in which it was required. Only those who, in following Christ, leave everything they have, can stand and say that they are justified solely by grace. They recognize the call to discipleship itself as grace, and grace as that call. But those who want to use this grace to excuse themselves from discipleship are deceiving themselves." So quite a little profound passage. If you know anything about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, or the cost of discipleship, as it's sometimes called, or Discipleship, that book, if you know anything about that, you might know the term cheap grace. And Bonhoeffer writes a lot about that, and that's kind of what he's talking about here. And I like what he does, because he starts talking in that philosophical world first, and then moves into the Christian world. And so he sets up this scenario where he says, well, if at the end of your life, and kind of before eternity, you say, well, in the end, given the vast expanse of the universe and the world, I know nothing. That's something entirely different than saying at the beginning of your life, well, I can know nothing, so I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to enter into a life where I pursue knowledge. He says those two things are completely different. Reflecting on your relationship with the vast expanse of the world and saying, hey, in the end, my knowledge doesn't really amount to much, is something entirely different than using it to justify, he says, your own laziness. The two are not the same. And so he takes that kind of setup and then he moves that into the Christian world, into the Christian life. We all know the word grace. Grace as this free gift of Christ's love, this free gift of salvation and forgiveness that is not based on anything that we do, but solely on the love of God. And for Bonhoeffer, that's fundamentally true. He writes about it over and over and over again. That's fundamentally true. We can't deny that. In the end, we don't earn our salvation. And so what Bonhoeffer says is that when we live the Christian life, we are always living into that reality. And we're always learning that again and again and again. So that at the end of our life, when we step into eternity, what we say is, I didn't earn it. This is entirely from Jesus. This is entirely a gift of grace to me. But if you take a sense of grace, that free gift of God, if you take that as a justification to not live the Christian life, to say, well, I don't even need to follow Jesus then. I don't need to do anything. I'm just going to claim that reward at the end of the time. Bonhoeffer would say, well, you're deceiving yourself, because that's not the call of discipleship, and that's not the call of Jesus. So grace, as true as it is found and fully revealed in the life of discipleship, in the life of following Jesus. This doesn't mean that we earn it. That means that in that life, in that following, we are constantly revealing and constantly learning that in the end it's all about Jesus. Dallas Willard, who was a philosopher but also a Christian author, wrote a lot about spiritual formation. One of the things that he was quoted as saying, quite famously, is that grace is not opposed to effort. It is opposed to earning. So that is to say that accepting the grace of God, the free gift of God's love and God's forgiveness and God's self on the cross, that free gift that we don't earn, that doesn't mean that we are not called to follow Jesus, to actually take steps to live our lives in reference to Jesus. What grace means is that we are free from having to feel like we need to earn Jesus. Grace is not opposed to effort. Grace is opposed to earning. And so, fully revealing grace in our lives, fully experiencing grace in our lives, isn't found on just resting on our own laurels. It is found in the endless pursuit of Jesus. And that's what Bonhoeffer is getting at. God bless you as you journey through your season of Lent, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.